0864. Station's your final time cue will be with 15 seconds until airtime. Mark, 15 seconds until airtime.
Oregon is going to the Final Four.
The following is a Learfield presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game.
This is Ducks football.
We got to elevate and make our teaching standards elite.
Got him deep. He's open. He's got it. He's got it. It is picked up. Intercepted. Oregon with the ball.
There can't be any type of fading. It doesn't work that way.
20, 50. He's going to score. 10. Touchdown, Oregon.
We invested a lot of time in that, and we expect that to pay off in a big-time way.
Oregon repeats as the Pac-12 champion.
This is the Oregon Football Coaches Show on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield. Tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Country Financial Insurance. Protect what matters. And by Pepsi and Bigfoot Beverages. Go Ducks. Drink Pepsi. Now, let's talk Oregon Ducks football. Alongside Mike Jorgensen and Joey Mac, here's the voice of the Ducks, Jerry Allen.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. Back on the road again, 4-0, still highly ranked, and we can, talk about all that and be excited about it. Georgie, Joy, we can do that. Coach will be here in a few minutes. He didn't want to hear about that. He didn't want to talk about that. But it's still 4-0 and number 4 or 3 in the nation. It's a huge deal.
Yeah, you keep getting the job done,
Yeah.
and oftentimes I think the way that fans are looking at it anyway, Jerry, is, geez, play 4 complete games or 4 complete quarters in a row, but you know what? Play 3 really good quarters. Continue to take the ball away, Joey. It's pretty amazing what this team's doing.
Yeah, especially with the takeaways. I mean, that has been just amazing. The Ducks are the best in the country taking the ball away. Verone McKinley is tied for first in interceptions. Bennett Williams is in a 10-way tie for third in interceptions right now. The Ducks are just absolutely dominating in terms of taking the ball away. So it's been pretty impressive. And if they can keep that going, I mean, I just look up and down Oregon's roster, too. All the different playmakers on defense that have made an impact. It's pretty cool to see.
I was just looking at this stat. The Ducks have scored 51 points off of turnovers.
Yeah.
That's how important those turnovers are. I mean, there have been years when Oregon has taken the ball away, but then couldn't do anything with it. They are extremely efficient when they take the ball away from teams.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, I was shocked on it. 51 points off turnovers.
I mean, you're plus 12, right?
Right.
Plus 12 is pretty amazing.
12 or 13. I mean, it's a big number. And they're doing it with fumble recoveries, forcing fumbles, and interceptions, Joey. So it's a complete defense.
It is, and I think especially when the Ducks have had their full complement of defensive players, that's when they've been at their best. And that's something that we're going to hear about later on the show, because Keon Ware-Hudson was talking about, hey, yeah, you get guys like Mace Funa and Kayvon Thibodeau back, makes a huge difference. I mean, the Ducks, what I think is really amazing is that you talk about they didn't have their full complement of defensive backs to start the season. They've had to deal with injuries all over the place, particularly at edge rusher and at linebacker, and they're still doing what they're doing, statistically taking the ball away. Now, I think Tim DeRuyter would say, yeah, and we'd also like to maybe not get into the red zone quite as often. The Ducks have made some big plays, particularly last week, took the ball away in the red zone. I think they'd like to maybe get off the field a little bit quicker. That was something Coach Cristobal mentioned when I was talking to him coming off the field at halftime against Arizona. But you keep all that in mind. And I keep thinking about, like, man, and this is a team that's been through a ton of injuries defensively, and look what they're doing. So I think the defense has been a real bright spot. I'm excited to hear what Coach has to say tonight.
Yeah, I'm going to ask him about that. With the guys, Brandon Dorlus has stepped up and had a really big year. Keith Brown, we're going to talk about him. Nate Huakealani. The guys, the names that we didn't know before this year are playing key roles on that defense now, gaining experience as they go. They're not experienced when they started. They're learning on the
and
go.
making key plays too.
Yeah, they are
That's the
making
thing
key
about
plays.
it.
Yeah.
That's what's so impressive about this is they just continue to make key plays over and over and over.
Yeah, and I think the big play is something that, Tim DeRuyter talked about, the takeaways, right? That was a big thing that he wanted the entire season, and the Ducks are doing that. And then, for me offensively too, guys, that they've been able, to Jerry's point, take those turnovers, convert them into points, and I keep coming back, too, to the special teams for the Ducks have been really, really impressive. Yeah. And I think right now it's a complete team. So the question is if they can keep that going, right? Yeah. And I think get even more consistent, because they can do that, and they're gonna be even better than they are now.
Special teams has been consistent.
It has.
That is the one thing you can point at and say, wow.
No, there's no doubt that it has. Ducks are road tested. been to Ohio State. Came out of there with not any problems at all with the crowd. On the road again at Stanford, which has always been an interesting place to play. Stanford and Oregon have had some real battles. But I like Oregon going in. Stanford coming off a loss, tough loss. Dangerous football team with a big, strong, but a young quarterback.
But getting better, I think.
Yeah.
Young in relation to experience.
Yeah.
But, when you go on a
two-year
you go on a 2-year mission, you come back pretty mature. But it'll be interesting to see, and it's always a tough place to play, no doubt about it.
You got some players coming up later. Who are we going to hear from today? Anyway?
Oh, geez, a lot of guys. Anthony Brown, Jalen Redd, Keon Ware-Hudson, Verone McKinley, a ton of guys that we're going to hear from. And one guy in Triquez Bridges with an awesome story to tell. If you haven't heard it, if you haven't seen it shared on social media, outstanding story just about the men that are on this football team, and we're going to talk about that coming up.
I'm looking forward to it. Coach is coming up next, the Pepsi Coaches Spotlight. We'll take the break and go away and come back and get in with our head coach and talk about last week and what's ahead for this team as we continue on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Ready to get back in the game? Great news. The movement experts at Proactive Physical Therapy Specialists can help you find relief and results and keep you off the sidelines. With 15 convenient locations across Portland, contact Proactive Physical Therapy Specialists today at proactivepts.com to see a physical therapist. Proactive Physical Therapy Specialists, a proud partner of Oregon Athletics and trusted choice for keeping Duck fans in the game. Well, Bob, I don't like Hunger's chances here, not against this feast of an IHOP defensive line.
That's right, Jim. They got pancakes, sausage, bacon, hash browns, and even scrambled eggs.
Heck of a lineup, Bob. They've been slaying Hunger in the backfield this whole season. Makes you wonder how Hunger finds the courage to get back out there.
Empty tummy, 42 pancakes. The blitz is on, and Hunger is demolished once again.
It never stood a chance, Bob.
Tackle your hunger with IHOP's Game Day Family Feasts.
No matter how fast you are, you can't outrun your past. Don't miss Vin Diesel and John Cena in F9, The Fast Saga, now available at Redbox. The next chapter in the high-octane Fast and Furious franchise finds Dom Toretto living a quiet life off the grid, but knows danger always lurks just over the peaceful horizon. This time, that threat forces him to take his team on a worldwide ride with high-stakes action, old friends, and a surprising new foe, Dom's forsaken brother, Jacob. Watch F9, The Fast Saga, and make it a Redbox night. Visit redbox.com for all the ways to watch.
Elevate the standard. This is Ducks football from Learfield.
Okay, forest animals, kids are coming to the forest, and it's up to us to make their visit a good one. Sparrow, have you practiced the most popular bird songs for the year?
Of course.
Catchy. I like it. River, how's the temperature?
It's a refreshing 52 degrees, man.
I love it. Turtle.
He's not here yet, man.
He's late every morning. Okay. Squirrel.
The forest has been preparing just for you. To learn more about cool things to do in the forest, visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Tom has been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. And I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. I was really starting to worry.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Welcome back inside our Country Financial Studios. Jerry Allen with Jorgie, and joined now by head coach Mario Cristobal, head coach of the Ducks, who is getting his team ready for Stanford. First of all, congratulations, 4-0, nice win last week, and now you're 0-0 this week, huh?
Absolutely. Preparation's been full throttle, as it is usually. Real good practice today. Very competitive. A lot of emphasis on finishing every play and then finishing every series and then stacking these drives together. So it's been a very productive week, and still got a couple of days to prepare and taking advantage of every second.
4-0 in a year, but I know you are still looking for your team to play a complete game. You know it's in them, but you haven't really quite gotten all the way there yet.
I don't think we ever will. I mean, that's for our standards anyways. We make those goals so high that they're, virtually unreachable. But we need to be better in certain areas. We don't kid ourselves. We're very direct, right between the eyes type of an operation. And we're improving in certain areas, and others we just got to continue working, really identifying the things that will make us better, not just working blindly. But the effort behind it, the detail behind it has been really strong. Developing young players to play certain positions as well, a lot of new faces, and we're progressing. We feel like we're getting better and better.
Seems, Coach, that you guys just continue to make key plays when it really counts. And I know all 4 quarters count. Every time you have the ball, every time you're on defense or special teams, you want to make every one of those plays count. But I look back at some of the plays that took place during the game. I mean, Johnny Johnson's clutch catch over the middle, going way up high to snag that thing out of the air, leads to a touchdown. Camden Lewis's field goal, 43 yards. I think sometimes people forget about how important that field goal was at 24-19. They had just closed, needed to get some points after that third quarter. He bangs it through, and then everything kind of falls in place after that. You guys are finding ways to make the plays regardless of how tough the situation is, which you talked about resilience. I've heard you say that word a lot this week.
Well, we got our momentum going. We're really good. You know, we got to do a much better job of sustaining that momentum and building upon it. You know, when you have it, and in college football, I do believe that's one of the toughest things to have and to reverse is momentum. And we work at it. It's a big emphasis of our practices as well. And I think we're learning. We're learning how to turn it. We're learning how to keep it a little bit better. But we still, again, we got to continue to improve those areas to continue our 1-0 processes.
You look at that third quarter, a lot of people say, gosh, you couldn't get the ball away from Arizona. But when you look at the whole game, you gave up one explosion play. Your defense gave up one explosion play. 35 yards, that's it. While your offense had 6 of their own. Your defense is bending but not breaking. Five takeaways. I mean, and that's one of the highlights of this team this year.
It is. Our turnover margin is really high. It's something that we've emphasized tremendously since last, and protecting the football as well. We turned it over once, and it was a really strange way to turn it over. It was on a screen pass while trying to wait for the back to clear and the lineman to get out against Fresno. So all that work is paying off, and all it means is that you can't take it for granted. You got to work it even harder every week so that human nature doesn't overcome you and you start coughing up the football. So those things are really, really important. We still want to do a better job on first down, put people in tougher second down and certainly third down situations, then get off the field on third down. And that was, again, a big point of emphasis this week.
Composure. I mean, again, you don't ever want games to be close. You want to have, as Jerry talked about, 4 complete quarters, which is really difficult to do on both sides of the ball and throughout. But your team just stays composed even when, the crowd or even somebody like me standing up in the booth begins to get really nervous. Your team has stayed composed, almost as though they've been in this situation before, they've been in tight games before, and they made, again, like I said, the key plays.
Made a lot of key plays. Our team, I think we play best when the urgency levels are through the roof. And we recognize that. We know that we're a very high energy, high juice type of operation, and you've got to maintain and sustain those levels. And you do it by playing really well. You do it by feeding off of each other, supporting each other. You have a really engaged sideline. Like if you walk the sidelines, you'll see that everybody is just on their feet, supporting each other, pushing each other, challenging each other. And that's contagious. It's infectious. And I think that certainly has a big impact on our players.
We talked about a lot of new guys during last week's game. In fact, a lot early part of this season. With that in mind, the health of your team right now, can you catch us up to date on some of the guys?
We're about the same spot we were in a week ago. I mean, we're certain positions are healing a little bit more slowly than others, but I feel like, hey, that's part of football. Yeah. We got hit with it in grand fashion this year, unexpected, but those things happen. We've made some adjustments. And guys that have been getting significant playing time are improving just because reps certainly make you better. They're the best form of teaching and learning you can have. So, but no one's looking around and, waiting for someone to drop in some help. We have what we have each other, and it's more than enough.
Started fast on offense. Boy, obviously the first 4 games or first 3 games leading up to this one, guys went on defense first and were able to come out and stop the opposing offense all 3 times to get that ball. This time you got the ball first, right down the field, scored. The things that you did early on had to have been encouraging because that's the first time you were put in that position.
Yeah, we've been able to win the toss and we've deferred. We're not always going to do that, but we have been doing that. So when we did get the ball like we did and went right down there, get an explosive play right away, it certainly gets things going in a hurry, and that fueled just about the entire organization and ended up being a really good first quarter.
Bennett Williams' first interception, when you put pressure on the quarterback in that game, he made mistakes. Made mistake, and it looked like a screen pass, but got some pressure, made the interception. The other interceptions were pressure types of situations. When you guys get pressure on the quarterback, it turns into big-time things.
Yeah, and you have to be able to rush the passer. You have to be able to get pressure on a quarterback, especially late in games, to win games. I mean, that's the bottom line. It's a league full of really good athletes. Pac-12 has phenomenal quarterbacks, wide receivers, really good offensive lines, and you have to be able to cover. You have to be able to affect the quarterback in some way, either with coverage or with pressure. And if you can't, those nights are pretty long. So we, fortunately for us, we have those capabilities, and we've been improving on them every week.
We talk sometimes about a sudden change defense. If a team turns the ball over, your defense got to be ready to get out there and stop. Your sudden change offense, of the 12 or 13 turnovers you've taken away, your team scored 51 points off those turnovers. Amazing. That's unusual to be that high a percentage of points off of turnovers.
Yeah, we're taking advantage of the opportunities that we're getting. Again, this team, these guys really, really like each other. They spend a lot of time around each other. There's a lot of love on this team. So they fuel each other. They really do. You see it in practice. I've been on teams before where, you compete like crazy, but you really don't care much if you really knock the guy's helmet off. This team is different. This team really looks out for each other. They try to improve each other by competing, and they want to see their teammates do well. It's really important for them to see their teammates have success. So that's a really good formula. Those are some really good ingredients for a bright future. So we just got to stay at it, keep working, and stick to our 1-0 processes.
He is head coach Mario Cristobal. He is taking his team to Stanford this week. We're ready for that 12:30 kickoff on Saturday. Got a lot more questions, a lot more to talk about. Some of those new guys that have been inserted into the lineup that they've got to play, and they are stepping up and playing. We'll talk more about that on our Pepsi Coaches Spotlight here on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Here's how Duck fans take flight with OCCU. Start with a Lucky Duck savings account. Move up to a Duck debit card with free checking. Then graduate to a Duck credit card. OCCU makes your financial journey easier with fewer fees, higher rates on savings, and lower rates on loans. Discover the OCCU difference at myoccu.org/Go Ducks.
As my family continued to grow, I realized I'd have to replace my beloved Jeep with something that has, well, more seats. I'm Jason Hines, Country Financial Rep and father of 7. Whether you're upgrading from your sporty ride with no room for a car seat or finally replacing your well-loved beater that still has a cassette player, you'll want the right protection for your new car. Work with a Country Financial Rep like me and get the protection you need at a price you can afford. Learn more at TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
You're listening to the Oregon Football Coaches Show on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Okay, man, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're going to go out there and be an all-star caregiver. Cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You got to dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments, because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Show the world that you're tougher than tough. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
To some, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much, but that's not true. They're testing out vowels and consonants and trying different sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on meaning, especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Learn more at autismspeaks.org. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Welcome back inside our Country Financial Studios. I'm Jerry Allen, Jorgie, and head coach Mario Cristobal with us to talk about Stanford coming up. And, Coach, just in general, your team this year really balanced on offense and defense. I think 206 rushing, 272 to the air. You like to see that balance offensively?
Yeah, you want to see points, however you can get them. If you can stay balanced, it certainly opens up a lot of opportunities for both the run and the pass game, and it keeps people off balance. So it's inversely proportional, right? The more you have, the less your opponents do have. So overall, pleased with the progress, but there's still a lot of improvement to be made.
Yeah, you talked about Bennett Williams the very first week we had you here, and how much he's improved, and obviously it just continues to improve. You got two, what feels like field generals in the defensive backfield with Verone McKinley and Bennett Williams. Talk about those two, how they play together, and again, the continued growth of Bennett Williams.
Yeah, well, Bennett has really come on strong the last several weeks. And again, just a great offseason was parlayed when getting a great opportunity and taking advantage of it and never looking back. Verone is the general. I mean, he's as good of a leader as I've ever been around. The way he handles himself, the way he conducts himself around others, his commitment to being a student of the game and being a great teammate, and the way that he just digests, understands, and plays football is really, it's just next level stuff. And it affects everybody. You know, it transcends over to the offensive side of special teams. So those two guys together, you know, obviously great combination. Steve Stevens is playing great football. Now Jamal is really back in the flow, and he's playing some excellent football also. So you've got some guys out there that have really done a nice job.
I want to, before I forget, I want to mention this because it's so important, and he's not playing now, so people may overlook the fact that Drew Mathis is a Campbell Award semifinalist. That's a huge award, and to be recognized for that, even though he is not getting a chance to play this year like he wanted to, it's pretty special.
It is a special guy, special award. We know obviously the last award winner was here at Oregon, is a special one, you know, doing great things on Sundays now, but Drew is that type of person, that type of human being and teammate, hard worker. We miss him. We really do. Yeah. He was off to a great start to the season, but you know what? He's recovered nicely, and we're really proud of him.
Talk about the Cardinal, if you would, a little bit. You during the break here, you obviously were talking to us about physical at the wide receiver, physical at the offensive and defensive line of scrimmage. I mean, they get after it. They like to get it. They've always liked to get after it and pound the ball, but they've got physical basketball type of wide receivers, linebackers that get after you. Talk a little bit about the Cardinal, if you would.
Well, it starts and ends up front, but it transcends on their team. I mean, they're big, they're physical, they're athletic, ultra-talented team. Their quarterback is a Sunday player all day, as good as we've seen, you know, since we've been here. Just does it all. Extremely accurate, strong arm, can make every throw, can hurt you with his legs. Decisive, great pocket presence, explosive receivers, big receivers, matchup issues they create with their size and speed. Same thing with the tight end position. That's never, ever fallen off. Their running backs are explosive. You see some really explosive plays from them. Their defensive line knocks you back. They use their hands tremendously well, really explosive, come out of their hips. Their linebackers are downhill guys that can go sideline to sideline. And their secondary is big. It's physical. They can play man. They disguise their coverage really well. Strong kicking game, strong return game. They are a complete football team, and they played some really, really good football, and they're about as good of a challenge as you can ask for.
They're a jumbo team. They're big up front. When they go double or triple tight end, bring a fullback in, and that short yardage situation are really difficult. So first down is really critical against a team like this.
It sure is. You know, they bring extra tackles into the game as well. You know, they go on balance sets, run power lead, you name it, wide zone, extra wide zone lead, you know, split side lead. I mean, some of the stuff that I remember, you know, just running those types of offenses. But I think people that watch Stanford have realized that they evolve. I mean, they do it all in the passing game as well, and the screen game and the perimeter game. I mean, they get that ball out, they get it out quick, they max it up and take shots down the field. They spread the ball around, excellent. And these multiple personnel groupings, which is in the high teens, maybe even more. You know, you have to match their personnel groups, and you have to play really sound, physical football, and you've got to get 11 hats with the ball.
It's like you talked about offensively, want to be good on first down. You got to really be good on first down on defense, don't you, against a team like that?
Without a doubt. And that's the key to playing really good defensive football too, right? Hard to get off the field when an offense coordinator on the other side has his entire menu to call on second and short or third and short, you know. So I think both sides understand that. They do a good job on both sides of the ball on first down. Their third down pressure packages are really, really impressive. They're as challenging to protections as what we have seen. They do a great job dissecting protections, understanding who's blocking who, where's the man's side, where's his own side, and they pick at it. They design pressures specifically to pick at certain protections, and they've done a good job dialing them up when those protections are called.
Back on our offensive side of the ball, you mentioned Tanner McKee, their quarterback. He's a big guy, 6'6", 225 or something like that. But he was a run-pass option or RPO guy in high school, so he knows how to run that offense, and you have to be aware of what he can do to you.
Without a doubt, that guy, he's a special quarterback. I'm sure you've heard our players speak about him all week, as impressive as it gets. And he's got a great supporting cast. So tremendous opportunity and tremendous challenge with Stanford.
Sometimes Duck fans can make the Bay Area seem like a home game.
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait till Duck fans show up down there and support the team. That's so important on those road trips. I know it was in Columbus, obviously, going 3/4 of the way across the country. Now with the alumni base down in that area and the people that will travel down, that's gonna help the cause, isn't it?
It means a lot to us. I mean, when we look up and we see them there, and as loud as they are, as supportive as they are, it means a ton to us. We always want to make our people proud, our family, our community proud. And so, yeah, it's always critically important and awesome to see them in every stadium when we go on the road.
You mentioned the fans, what it's going to be like down at Stanford. I got to go back to last week because the student section at Autzen was full. Students bought all their tickets and were buying extra seats. I mean, that was a very active and live Autzen Stadium on Saturday.
They were. I mean, you felt them coming out for warm-ups. They were ready to roll already. I mean, they were ready to play some ball. And I tell you, we had a lot of visitors last weekend, and they were blown away by the level of pageantry, enthusiasm, and energy in Autzen Stadium. Certainly, Autzen never disappoints when it's rocking like that. So really just grateful to them, grateful to everyone there for bringing that type of energy, making it loud when it had to be loud, and just providing a great experience.
Fans cannot underestimate the impact they have on recruiting. And I'm not sure sometimes that fans understand what they mean when a young recruit comes in and sees that kind of reaction.
I'll reinforce it 1,000 times over. It's a tremendous factor when a student athlete looks at a place because they want to know, how is this team supported? Is football a big deal here? Because you want to be at a place where it's the prominent thing or a prominent thing where it's so important that the community is involved, the community supports it, that the energy and, again, the pageantry surrounding it is strong. And every time you come into Eugene, whether it be the track, whether it be basketball, football, softball, soccer, I mean, volleyball, you name it, right? There's all kinds of support going on. Everybody's throwing up O's. Everybody's wearing green. And it's awesome.
Good times. I want to ask you this. I'm going to drop some names from some guys who we might not have heard from this year had it not been from some of the injuries. Maliki Matavao, Dawson Yarmello, Terrence Ferguson, and Troy Franklin, freshman. Brandon Dorless has been great. Keon Ware-Hudson, Bennett Williams. The guys, some of those guys I mentioned are stepping up into roles that before the season started, we as media and fans didn't expect to see them on the field in such key roles, but they're doing it.
Well, development has taken its course, and that's why it's critical that every time you design a practice, you design an off-season workout session, a fourth quarter program, that you're detailing every single rep. Everything matters. There's no such thing as a little thing, because these things, these cumulative reps, they add up, and when they add up, they equal development, and development's going to show on the field in a good way or a bad way, right? Well, there's a lot of pride in this organization to make sure that every ounce is poured into the development of these young men, and in every facet, academically, personally, football-wise. So when their time comes, when they're tapped on the shoulder and it's their opportunity, that they can play to their expectations and their level of potential.
That's great coaching, and it's fun to see those guys getting that opportunity and taking advantage of it. And it all ties back into recruiting the right young men to come and be ready to play if they're called on early. And you guys have done that. Congratulations. Great effort.
Amen. We it never stops. We're getting closer and closer to putting it together, a roster. Again, it has to keep elevating.
Sure.
You have to continue to put together class after class after class, and we're getting closer and closer to where we need to be.
Sure is fun watching it. We'll be watching it this Saturday, 12:30 kickoff down to Stanford. Thanks for what we have seen so far, and here's looking forward to what we're going to see this Saturday and the rest of the season.
Well, let's go Ducks. I'll see you there.
All right, thanks, Coach. He is head coach Mario Cristobal. It's the Pepsi Coaches Spotlight. When we come back, Joey Mac's going to join us. We're going to hear from some of the guys we just talked about, some of those players who make it all happen here on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
No matter how fast you are, you can't outrun your past. Don't miss Vin Diesel and John Cena in F9, The Fast Saga, now available at Redbox. The next chapter in the high-octane Fast and Furious franchise finds Dom Toretto living a quiet life off the grid, but knows danger always lurks just over the peaceful horizon. This time, that threat forces him to take his team on a worldwide ride with high-stakes action, old friends, and a surprising new foe, Dom's forsaken brother, Jacob. Watch F9, The Fast Saga, and make it a Redbox night. Visit redbox.com for all the ways to watch.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
You're listening to the Oregon Football Coaches Show. Oregon Football Coaches Show on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
It's 4 a.m., Monday, and you're literally sucking baby snot through a tube because she's congested. Man, that's love. And if you love her that much, love her enough to make sure she's buckled in the right car seat. To make sure your child's in the right seat for their age and size, visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Show them you love them. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
America, your children have an amazing superpower. They can help save lives by not having play dates. That's right. By replacing get-togethers with virtual play dates and video chats, they can help slow the evil spread of germs. And if your superheroes do go outside, make sure they continue their superhero wing by staying 6 feet away from others to protect everyone in America land. Find out more at coronavirus.gov. A message from the CDC and the Ad Council.
Welcome back inside our Country Financial Studios. These studios are where Joey Mac hides every day and then sleeps at night every day.
Do you sleep here? You do sleep here. Have you ever slept here?
If you kick that desk really hard, there's a bed that raises up from under the floor. Yeah. True story. He's looking at me, and Jorgie can't quite tell if I'm kidding. He can't quite tell if I'm kidding or not.
He's looking for it. Welcome back to the show, and thanks to head coach Mario Cristobal. So busy and so much on his mind. Take time to talk with us tonight. But, Joey, you had a chance to hear from some student athletes this week, and I'm really anxious to hear Triquez Bridges a little later on.
Yeah, we'll get to that coming up. An awesome moment. With all the students back, we emphasize student athlete because it was great to see all the students back, and my advice to all of our interns who are now back with us as well, don't fail any classes, guys. That's all we ever want is just don't fail any classes. But welcome back to the students, and that's obviously, I joke about that, but that's what it's all about, right? And so with this trip now coming up to Stanford, there is a little bit of an extra added element to the practice schedule, to the meeting schedule, because these guys have class now. Well, we begin with Jalen Redd, a guy who busted a big play. The Ducks got off to that fast start they were looking for against Arizona, and Jalen Redd was just asked about, what's the Stanford Cardinal team like?
At the same time, every time you play Stanford, it's going to be a great matchup. It's going to be a great physical and mental matchup. We had a great time. Last time I was down there, we had a great experience. This time, we're trying to keep it the same way, but at the same time, it's going to be a dogfight, just like every year it is. This team, and I treat them with much respect because I know they got vets just as us. I played against some of those guys, and I know how they're going to come at us. So we got to play more than just a physical game, a mental game as well.
I love that, the mental game as well, especially against a team like Stanford, always very disciplined under head coach David Shaw. On the other side of the ball, Keon Ware-Hudson, another now veteran for the Ducks, asked about what about this Stanford run game?
The run game is like every year, downhill, physical. So, it's both physical teams going together at it. So it should be a good one.
Triquez Bridges, another guy that we're going to hear from later on with that great Good Samaritan story, but he's also a guy who matches up really well with this Stanford team. Tim DeRuyter, Duck defensive coordinator, said that they've got a bunch of basketball players out there catching passes. Well, Triquez Bridges looks like a basketball player himself sometimes, playing cornerback with his length. He's talking about a little bit, what's he improved on so far this year?
Trusting my eyes and just flying around the field, just moving around and just being confident on the field. So yeah, I just feel like I improve a little bit on everything, just being on the field and getting a lot of playing time.
They improve on a little bit every day. I think that the Ducks are going to end up being pretty good if every individual goes about it that way. And I want to talk about that 1-0 mentality and what that actually means coming up in a moment. But first, Verone McKinley. You're talking earlier, Jorgie, with Coach Cristobal about Bennett Williams, Verone McKinley. I agree. There are really two field generals out there for the Ducks. And as Coach Cristobal said, Verone McKinley, though, is the general. So maybe what does that make Bennett Williams? The colonel? The major, I don't know, something else. But the point is that the Ducks have a lot of great leaders in this secondary and guys that are leading the nation in interceptions. That's Verone McKinley. Tied for third in interceptions, Bennett Williams on the entire season. 4 for McKinley, 3 now for Bennett Williams, and each of them has 3 in the last 2 games. They're getting takeaways when they need to. And Verone McKinley was talking about the relationship and the chemistry that he has with Bennett Williams.
Bennett, it's like, okay, so we play like on a string almost. We're tied, we're connected. So it's like I allow Bennett. Bennett can go, be free, does what he needs to do, and I'm always going to be on top. I'm always going to make sure we're good and nothing's behind us. So it allows for him to be free and go make plays and do what he does. And then for me, I know kind of what's going on. So, it's the general. I make sure we're all good. Everybody knows the play, what we're identifying, what we're looking at, and able to stay on top of the defense and come down and make tackles and do whatever. So that's what helps us both out.
So General McKinley and Colonel Williams for the Ducks right now is, I think, kind of the way that it's been in the secondary. And a big reason why the Ducks are leading the nation in takeaways with that lucky number 13, I think it's been because they've gotten after the quarterback in key situations. Some of the time, it's led to those interceptions that we were talking about. Well, on blitzing, Verone McKinley, pretty interesting answer.
For me, I do everything. So I cover slot receivers, I cover tight ends, I blitz, I play in the box, I play single high. So just being in a defense where we're multiple, we have different sets, different personnels, and then the ability for me to go ahead and blitz, it always keeps people on their toes. You don't know whether I'm blitzing, Noah's blitzing, Bennett's blitzing, we may have Michael blitz. Everybody in the defense has to know how to blitz. We've been saying that, so it keeps defenses on their toes, and you don't know when it can come. So that's just Coach DeRuyter doing a great job of play calling and understanding the situation and just applying it to what's going on.
Not only is Verone McKinley going to be a broadcaster someday, he'd probably be a coach someday too. Just every time we talk with him, I just get that feeling from Verone McKinley. And the Ducks have done a really nice job despite being limited by some personnel lately. Coach DeRuyter's been talking about that, and he said, hey, we are a little limited at times with our personnel packages because the Ducks have been banged up. Well, other guys have stepped up, and the defensive coordinator himself has had to make some adjustments. Now, the good news is Ducks are getting a lot healthier. They had Mace Funa back. Kayvon Thibodeau continues to work his way back. That's a good feeling for Keon Ware-Hudson.
It feels a lot more comfortable inside knowing that you have the edge set. The young guys, they came up filled in their spots and everything, but having the vets there, it would be a little easier on us.
You got the personnel back, and it makes everybody's life a little bit easier. Because I remember earlier in the season, everybody was talking about how, well, if Kayvon Thibodeau is going to draw a double team all the time, then that means everyone else's job is a little bit easier. Guys are coming back, and the Ducks are getting healthier and healthier, and they're going to need that going on the road against Stanford, which, by the way, it sounds like Stanford's going to be without its starting right guard. So they're dealing with some injury issues, too. The Ducks have, I think, settled into a really solid routine. That's what stuck out to me at practice this week. Solid routine. It's just a 1-0 mentality. We hear so much about that. Verone McKinley on his mentality, and it's got to be steady, huh?
Well, of course, everybody wants to say you're this great, you're that good, but at the same time, the same people saying I shouldn't have been out there against Auburn. So for me, it was like we got to get right back to work. You got to stay humble and stay hungry because it can all be taken away if you take it for granted or if you get too high, you don't play well the next game. So always about getting back to the next game, being 1-0, seeing what I did wrong and what I can improve on, even though I did make great plays or whatever it is, because we're trying to play a full 15 games. So if I'm settled off of game 2, I'm not going to be able to progress through game 3, 4, 5. So that's what it all takes. And just the way I've been raised, it's always you can't let what happened in the past dictate everything you do going on. You got to be able to move on, correct it, and keep getting better. So
I hear a lot of coaches, successful people talk about the phrase, it takes what it takes to be successful. I think that's exactly what Verone McKinley's talking about there. And, man, what a general for the Ducks back there for the defense, right? With that mentality that he's talking about, pretty incredible. That 1-0 process, what does that mean to a guy like Trikweze Bridges, who's newer on the scene for the Ducks? Has some experience, but that 1-0 process, boy, he loves it.
Oh, we have the 1-0 process. We just focus on ourselves, just do the things that we know we need to do, and play Nate Stadium like it's ours, because we have a 1-0 process and we just working on us, and we can't beat nobody can beat us but ourselves.
So now with all that in mind, that 1-0 process, the mentality that you heard Verone McKinley talking about, finally, before we head to the break, Verone McKinley was asked actually about what it's like being ranked the number 3 team in the country. Well, I don't think that his answer is going to surprise you based on what we know about Verone McKinley.
We've done a great job. We're not complacent. We feel we still haven't played our best football, and we haven't been consistent enough, and we feel like we need to continue getting better. And guys come in every week. We come in Sunday, and we're like, all right, what do we do wrong? How can we correct it? And we get ready for the next week. And that mentality has been the same thing. Everybody hears the 1-0 and thinks it's just a mantra, but it really means something, because we wanted to be 1-0 in everything we do, from how we prepare to how we take care of our bodies to game day. So putting that all together and just understanding that we are not a finished product is super big, and just us continuing to get better and taking that ranking. And we know what it is, but every game's a playoff game. So that's how we prepare.
2 separate questions about similar topics, and you got a very similar answer from Verone McKinley. The 1-0 mentality means something. Ducks are utilizing that 1-0 mentality, and they're the number 3 team in the country. More coming up. Jerry?
Listening to him and watching him play, it's like watching and hearing from a 5th-year senior, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's only a sophomore. That's hard to believe.
It's great talking to him.
Yeah, he's amazing. He is amazing. All right, we got more. A whole lot more for you. More players with Joey Mac when we come back on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics, because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
I really just want to win everything, every day. I want to win every single day. I want to become a winner when I eat breakfast. I want to become a winner when I watch film. I want to become a winner when I have practice.
This episode of the Mighty Oregon Podcast, presented by Oregon Community Credit Union, is another special edition with guest host Verone McKinley III. Verone sits down with junior running back Travis Dye and takes an in-depth look at his athletic family and his mindfulness on the gridiron.
You're listening to the Oregon Football Coaches Show on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
When might you be buzzed? When you suddenly love everything.
You guys, I love this song. I love these nachos. I love our kickball league. Oh, I love this guy. What's your name? You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzzed warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
I love your car. Is this real leather?
Hey, so what's a great way to spread awareness that driving high is illegal everywhere? A catchy song, of course.
You can run, but you can't drive high. You can run, but you can't drive high.
Friendly reminder, don't drive high. If you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Oregon Football Coaches Show. Jerry Allen, Jorge, and Joey Mac. We're in our Country Financial Studios, and Joey's got more players and some interesting comments from some of these guys.
Did you kick the bottom of the desk to bring the bed up from the trap door?
I'll wait till we're all done.
Okay.
He's afraid you'll get trapped.
Anthony Brown. We all know that the Ducks have operated pretty well with Anthony Brown. Now, Joe Moorhead did say this week he'd like to see that completion percentage for Anthony Brown tick up. And against a team like Stanford, you got to take advantage of your opportunities. Don't want to give them too many opportunities because when they start to get going, things aren't going to go so well. One thing, though, that I thought was really interesting this week, as everyone's been talking about, kind of how do you handle success, right? And, well, one thing that's different this year is that it's actually a little bit more of a normal year for these guys. They can actually have meals together. They can get to know each other. And to be honest with you, I had kind of forgotten about that until Anthony Brown talked about it this week.
I would say just being around each other and being able to be around each other a lot more was the biggest part. And as you get around each other more, you get closer, and I feel like we're a family, so that's really big.
That was the difference from last year, guys. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that everything was completely different, and I thought that was just a good reminder that these guys are still adjusting to what is more of a normal season. With that in mind, Jalen Redd was asked about this year compared to last year in 2020.
I think actually last year was a great year, down year. For our leaders, as far as just reminding us to stay uncomfortable. You know what I mean? We didn't win as many games as we wanted to last year compared to the year before, and we felt like we should have. So at the same time, we had to come out. I feel like this year we came out and emphasized some of the little things more to the younger guys than we did last year.
I want to zero in on that a little bit more, those young guys, because that's a wide receiver room that's really deep. We've talked about that seemingly all year long. A couple more things from Jalen Redd. He talked about the freshmen on this roster that are in the wide receiver room.
I think this team has handled it very well. I think we have a young team, but at the same time, it's a very mature group of young guys at the same time. So some of the leaders kind of have to push some of the guys to come above or come aboard on the same train as us, but I think that they kind of get it. I think that Ohio State game helped a lot just for the fact that they got to see everything, experience the field, the nature, the environment, you know what I mean, and see what we was able to accomplish. So I think everything is good.
And now Jalen Redd, continuing on that front, he is one of the leaders for this team. Talked a little bit about being a mentor.
It's great, actually. Like I said, the younger guys are way mature than, you know what I mean, they may have been in the past. You know, I mean, they were mature in the past, but we have a great group of young guys right now. So everything right now is just a teaching moment for them. They take it all in, and we, at the same time, the leaders have no problem taking criticism from the young guys if they see something at the same time. Just hold us to the same standard, you know what I mean? So it's been a great experience this year.
So you talk about the depth of the wide receiver room. 6 different guys have caught a touchdown pass for the Ducks so far from Anthony Brown this year. Pretty good, huh? Spreading the wealth. I heard a lot of people asking this week, like, well, do the Ducks need to have a go-to guy? If you got a bunch of depth, maybe you don't need one. That wide receiver room, Jalen Redd, he's pretty happy with where they're at.
So right now, I think we got a hungry group of dogs in our receiver room, I would say we all just want to make – we all have to have a mindset, and we kind of been emphasizing this mindset that even though we have such a good group of guys that every limited rep that we get, we got to make the most of it. You know what I mean? We got to take that one rep, like that's going to be the only rep I might get all game. You know what I mean? Just because we got so many guys rolling in and out, plus we got great running backs. We're not going to throw the ball every play, you know what I mean? So right now we just got to keep our heads up. At the same time, everybody wants the ball, you know what I mean? But you can't be selfish. We win the games, and that's going to help us at the end of the day.
Doubling down on that idea about the mentality of this wide receiver room, I think you're going to love what Jalen Redd had to say.
Whenever it's a pass play called and it's a play, you should run 100%. Your best route, give it your all, like it's your last rep that you're going to have all game, literally, or all season. That's how you got to take it, literally, like a pit bull that's never been let off the leash every rep. So that's how we got to play.
That's a mentality thing, isn't it? That wide receiver room, I think that Brian McClendon's got them playing pretty darn well right now, and a lot of different options for Anthony Brown to throw the ball to. Finally, as we continue with Jalen Redd, the last comment from him was on his quarterback, Anthony Brown. And guys, when he said this, I instantly thought of my perspective of one touchdown from last week on the sideline. I'm going to make you guys guess which one I'm thinking of after you hear what Jalen Redd said about his quarterback.
Actually, his ball comes off with a lot of velocity. With a lot of velocity, it's always going to be right where you want it to be at. That's the only thing. So with his ball, you just got to be prepared to run full speed and just catch it on the fly, because if you try to anticipate a throw or slow down even a little bit, the ball's going to be right by your face, you know what I mean? So at the same time, it's just he going to put the ball where you need it to be.
So he put the ball where Terrence Ferguson sure needed it to be, because from my perspective, guys, on the sideline, I was standing at about the 5. perfect throw on that touchdown to Terrence Ferguson. And I'm telling you, Terrence Ferguson had no choice but to catch that ball because it was so perfectly drilled right into his chest plate. It had nowhere else to go. It was just like, thump, and he caught it.
But right by two Arizona Wildcats,
Yeah.
one and the other. I mean, they had no chance to even turn and look at it. That's how hard he threw that ball.
Yeah, so I thought that was impressive. Got a lot of great stuff from Jalen Redd. And then when we come back, you're going to hear from Triquez Bridges, Jerry.
I can't wait for this one. This is the fun stuff. We'll wrap it up and come back and say goodnight after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Jill, why don't you tell the class what you did this weekend?
Well, my dad and I went in search of some magical minnows and found a zillion of them in the stream from our lookout rock. Then my sister and I escaped from an evil slug king and went back to my super twig fort for safety. Then we told stories till it got dark, and the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Wow. Where were you, Jill?
We went to the forest. It's not that far away.
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
If a natural disaster comes knocking, how prepared is your family? You can't just close the door on earthquakes, floods, or hurricanes and hope they go away. That's why it's important to make a plan now. Ready.gov/plan has the tools and tips you need to prepare your family for an emergency. So if disaster shows up at your doorstep, you'll be ready. Visit ready.gov/plan and make a plan today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Hey, son, how are you feeling?
I'm fine, Pops.
What's on your mind?
I can't explain it. Navigating without a compass, eyes waiting, started to wonder. Metamorphosis, the loss of who you thought you was.
When your kid can't find the language, help them find the lyrics. Listen to the Sound It Out album and get tips and tools to start a conversation at sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by Ad Council and Pivotal Ventures.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Is this tree good for climbing? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Country Financial Studio, Jerry, Jorgie, and Joey. And did we kind of save the best for last here?
I think we did. You know, I've been trying to find like maybe a funny or a lighthearted quote of the week at the end. In the broadcast world, we call this the kicker, if that matters to anybody. That's right. Usually what it's called. But this week, I just thought there was no other option than to actually just talk a little bit about these young men that are on this team. Because Mario Cristobal said this week that there are so many things, good things, that happen that don't make social media, that don't make the media. And oftentimes I think we live in a society where it's a lot of times the bad stuff that ends up in the news. Well, in this case, Triquez Bridges and Avante Dickerson went above and beyond. They were just good dudes. They were good humans. Let Triquez Bridges tell you the story and then give you a little more context.
Well, it was just it was a kid on campus, and he was just going around trying to figure out how he can use his duck ID to get food, and it wasn't able because he didn't have an ID on him, and he just couldn't use his code. So and he was like very stressed out to eat. You know, he didn't have no food. He said it been like 3 days since he had ate. So I was like, I didn't know this before I offered to pay for his food, but I just I saw him struggling. I know if I was in that situation, I would want somebody to help me. So I just helped him out, and Avante Dickerson did the same.
Yeah, so the context there, if you didn't see the post on social media, was a young man, a new freshman on campus, who couldn't quite figure out yet how to use the duck ID. And I'll tell you what, I was freshman at Oregon. There's a learning curve.
It is.
There is a learning curve there. And so it was awesome just to hear that story that Triquez and Avante are both like, hey, we got this. Like, we got this. So the young man had been out to class all day, hadn't had the opportunity to eat except in his dorm room in the morning and the evening because it just wasn't working for him. And he wrote a post about that, and the guys just stepped in and said, hey, we're here for you. Like, we're here for you. We got this meal. And he wrote a very, very nice message about it on Instagram. You can find it on social media. Awesome stuff. But it just, guys, just one of those stories that good dudes around these buildings.
Yeah,
Bigger than football.
I don't think there is a young man on that football team that wouldn't do the same thing. Every single one of them. That's the kind of people they are.
More student athlete in the entire department. I think that's something that really sticks out to me, guys. Every time one of those stories kind of gets talked about and comes to light, that stuff happens all the time. At least stuff like that. It was cool.
You don't get to hear about those on the news. That's kind of the way our society works. So, great story. Great young men. Well, we're ready to go. Take off Friday afternoon with that football team. 12:30 kickoff, so we're on the air 10:30 with the pregame show. You ready? I'm ready.
Absolutely.
I can't wait.
Yeah, I can too.
I love the matchup.
Good team.
It's
Good
always great at Stanford Stadium. And they'll be ready for number 3, number 4 Oregon. They're going to put their best foot forward, as all teams will. So I think the Ducks will rise up and play the football they need to this Saturday on the farm. We'll join you 10:30 Saturday morning. Thanks for being with us. Bye-bye. God bless everybody.
This has been the Oregon Football Coaches Show on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield. Tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Country Financial Insurance. Protect what matters. And by Pepsi and Bigfoot Beverages. Go Ducks. Drink Pepsi. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.